Some of the largest stones that I've seen incorporated into the megalithic structures in Sardinia have been used in the tombs of the giants. Like the one I'm standing on right now, it's just absolutely massive. These stones would have been very difficult for normal-sized people to maneuver, to move, unless they were using some kind of technology that is lost to us today.
The tombs of the giants provide us with an important clue regarding the origin of the Nuragic culture. Giants were considered to be the sons of the gods, the mighty men, and the heroes of old who had divine blood coursing through their veins. So the worship of the giants and the enshrinement of their dead bodies was a common theme in the ancient world, especially among the Canaanites.
In the mid-1800s, two academics, one a Jesuit scholar named Antonio Bresciani, and the other an Oxford-educated lawyer named John Tyndale, conducted separate investigations into the Nuragic civilization of Sardinia. They studied the Nuragi towers, the tombs of the giants, and the cultural traditions of the Sardinian people. What's intriguing is that both of these men came to the very same conclusion. The Nuragic civilization was most likely founded by the Canaanites, who they believed had migrated to the island either before or during the conquest of Canaan by Joshua and the Israelites. Furthermore, they both surmised that, just as the Hebrews had discovered to their dismay, when the Canaanites landed in Sardinia, there were giants in their ranks.
The Jesuit scholar Antonio Bresciani wrote extensively about the origins of the Sardinian culture and its connection to the Canaanites, who the Greeks called Phoenicians. The Phoenicians were unrivaled stonemasons and seafarers of the ancient world who not only mastered navigation of the Mediterranean, but sailed all over the earth. Bresciani draws many convincing correlations between Phoenician pagan practices and Sardinian cultural traditions. He even describes the Sardinian rite of passage ceremony, in which their children and young people would leap through the flames of large bonfires, simulating the Canaanite practice of passing their children through the fire. In its most gruesome adaptation, babies and small children were literally fed the smoldering statue of the god Molech, who was depicted as a hybrid with the body of a man and a bull's head. The half-man, half-bull motif of Molech appears prominently in the statues and figurines of the Nuragic culture. Even the tombs of the giants are configured in the shape of a bull's head, invoking the strong bulls of Bashan, mentioned in Psalm 22. And Og, the giant king of Bashan, last of the Rephaim in Canaan, whose bedstead was over 13.5 feet long.
There is compelling evidence all over Sardinia indicating that it was once inhabited by a Canaanitish race with Mesopotamian roots. There is even an ancient ziggurat on the island called Monte da Codi, complete with a monolith and sacrificial stone. It is the only ziggurat ever discovered in the Mediterranean and is archetypical to those found throughout the Middle East. The Greek biographer Plutarch recorded that when the Roman general Quintus Sertorius took the town of Tinges, he broke open the tomb of Ancaeus, the venerated Phoenician giant. Plutarch describes the general's reaction to what he discovered inside. But great was his surprise when he beheld a body 60 cubits long. He immediately offered sacrifices and closed up the tomb, which added greatly to the respect and reputation it had before. What makes Plutarch's account even more fascinating is that near the town of Tinges, stone pillars had been erected by the Phoenicians, emblazoned with the inscription, "We are the Canaanites who fled before the face of Joshua the robber, the son of Nun." known today as the city of Tangier in northern Morocco. Tingis was located on the western point of the Strait of Gibraltar, providing the Phoenicians with undisputed access to the wider Atlantic. A ship sailing precisely due west from the port at Tangier across the Atlantic Ocean would arrive in the Gulf of St. Lawrence. Thousands of years ago, when these voyages took place, a system of waterways provided passage from the sea to the Great Lakes, enabling the Phoenicians to penetrate deep into North America. It is a well-known fact that ancient copper mines once existed on the shores of the Great Lakes, especially in northern Michigan. The Michigan copper mines produce the highest quality copper in the world, with a trademark purity of over 99.5%. Michigan copper has been discovered in the Mediterranean, including on the island of Sardinia, among the oxide ingots extracted from the Nuragic ruins. There is no doubt that the Phoenicians were navigating the Great Lakes. An ancient petroglyph depicting a Phoenician ship was discovered in a place called Copper Harbor in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, along with the oxidized handprint of a very large man. It is no coincidence that many of the mounds in America harboring the bones of giants were concentrated in and around the Great Lakes Basin.
So if the Canaanites, who the Greeks called the Phoenicians, did indeed travel to the early Americas, and there's a great deal of academic research to support that notion, are they the ones that brought these ideas about giants, the worship of giants, the opening of doorways and portals? And were there giants when they came? Did they establish a presence in early America? Were they doing here what the Hebrew Bible says they were doing in the Middle East, where they were raping women, giving birth to hybrids? Is that the reason why the Anasazi at Chaco Canyon had graves with people that had polydactyly, that they were worshiping 6 fingers, 6 toes, double rows of teeth, mutations that were buried here in the U.S., but they put jewelry around those extra digits. They were worshiping them as somehow being an offspring of the gods.
I believe that Sardinia holds the key to unlock the mystery of the mound builders in America, and may answer the question that vexed John Wesley Powell concerning the origin and migration of the giants. It seems that this ambiguous island in the western Mediterranean was ground zero for the Canaanite Rephaim, and perhaps their primary stronghold against the divine Holocaust mandated from heaven to exterminate their abominable race.
The giants were dreaded hunters and cannibalizers of men, but they were also hunted by the hounds of heaven. When Joshua fought against the Amorite giants, God hurled hailstones down upon them and killed more of the Amorites himself than did Joshua and his army. Since their expulsion from the land of Canaan, the giant races were forced into exile and likely regrouped on the island of Sardinia, and from there migrated across the earth.
Eventually, the giants were either massacred or bred out in the populations into which they were absorbed. Their genetics and culture were preserved most prominently in the Phoenicians, who carried and seeded their genes across the globe, including in North America. The bloodline of the giants has gradually diminished over the centuries throughout the earth, but in Sardinia, it was apparently still manifest into the 20th century.
These skeletons, as I was telling you before, different varieties were unearthed. Some of them had elongated skulls, others had very long chins. I saw one with horns this big, like a cow, and it had 6 fingers. These genes are still around today. Sometimes people are born with them. In fact, there was a boy in our village. They're no longer here, they moved overseas. This boy had 6-toed feet. And this is generational, because his grandfather also had 6-toed feet. These are ancient genes that we Sardinians still carry to this day.